You're listening to the Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles, Episode 72, featuring Amazing Spider-Man number 216 and Uncanny X-Men number 145 from February 1981. Hello and welcome to the 72nd episode of Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles. I'm your host, Pat, aka DJ Christatos. Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles is a podcast that will journal the Amazing Spider-Man comic book issues read chronologically by their release date, along with another comic from my comic book collection, either in digital, in a trade, or from the many long boxes stashed away in my basement. Each episode will provide short recaps, reviews, and ratings for the issues for that release date. The goal is to keep me actively reading through my collection and having some fun along the way with my friends. And speaking about my friends, joining me for the 72nd episode is Jared Elbrick, a.k.a. Death Pro.
Well, hello, Pat. How are you today, sir?
I am doing well, Jared. And how are you?
Good. I'm very good. I heard a joke on another podcast that I felt was very appropriate for this podcast. I don't think I've used it here before, so here we go. It's Spider-Man. He has a jacket that's made out of Mediterranean flatbread, and it's called a pita parka.
Pita parka. Okay.
Pita parka. Is it's
Yeah.
I'm gonna welcome the show, but
yeah. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and move on to the better Elbrick joke teller, possibly.
Seemingly. Well, seemingly.
Yeah. We'll see what happens going on this one. But Jason, the Weasel Skull Elbrick, hello. Do you have a better joke than your brother?
Well, I was just going to say hello to all you chumzos out there. Don't take any wooden nickels. Still need to ride to the airport. Flying into Charlotte, and boy, are my arms going to get tired.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, seemingly is... I don't know what else to say, I guess.
Peter Parker.
Peter Parker.
Flying into Charlotte. Into Charlotte, my arms are going to get tired because it's like I'm flapping my arms.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
All of a sudden, Peter Parker seems pretty sweet.
Yep. Thank you, Chumzo. Appreciate that. That gave me good chuckles. With that, let's go ahead and introduce Delvin. Save us, Delvin. Delvin, the Dark Web Williams. How are you, Delvin?
I'm good, Pat. And Jason, if you need a ride, I suggest that, you just put on your running shoes and get you a good marathon heading to my place.
Are you 26 miles away from the...
I don't know if it is or not, but I made a reference to the comic book and then tied it into a thing you were saying. And given the low bar that I had to cross as far as funniest joke, I think I won this segment. So, woo! I'm going to take that trophy. For here.
Debatable.
Yes.
I thought it was pretty well done, Delvin. So I do appreciate that as we kind of round out the bits here. Some good, some bad.
By my count, Pat, it was one good,
and two
bad. Yeah. Yes.
Two chumps.
One cool guy, and two Albrecht chumps.
Yes.
Chumzos. Even vague.
Two Elbrick Chumzos. Can't even get a wooden penny. With that, let's go ahead and also thank those that are watching us live in the chat as well, too. We appreciate it as we are recording this show live. So we will have some of their comments later on in the show. But before we do that, you can also leave us a voicemail that we will play later on in the show. Leave us a message at 707-532-5269. That is 707-532-LBOX. Pick up the phone.
Pick it up.
Chumzos are standing by. Now, before we get started with this episode's issue, let's take a quick podcast promo break, and we will be right back.
Hello, soldiers. I'm Jared Albrecht, the yard sale artist, codenamed Death Probe, and I'm here to give you your orders to join me and my elite podcasting squad for G.I. Joe Chronicles. Who makes up this elite squad, you may ask? It starts with my right-hand man, Pat Sampson. Tell him your codename and specialty, Pat.
Well, Jared, I'm glad you asked. My codename is DJ Christatos, and on G.I. Joe Chronicles, I specialize in G.I. Joe comic books, Marvel, Devil's Due, IDW. We cover them all. But there's so much more in the G.I. Joe Chronicles universe, and that's where our first sergeant comes in. He's Jim Mill. Sound off with your codename and specialty, Jim.
My specialty is everything else G.I. Joe. I'm going to talk about some comics too, but I'm also going to look at the G.I. Joe property from lots of different angles, including, but not limited to, the toys, cartoon, puzzles, train sets, bed sheets, Halloween costumes, you name it, and there's probably a Joe version of it, and I'm going to let you know it exists.
You forgot to tell the troops your codename.
Oh yeah, codename Weasel Skull.
I don't think you can have that one. I think it's taken.
Dang. How about codename Weasel Skull?
Strangely enough, that's also taken.
Orsted.
Oh, that's like a beautiful name, man. We could be cosmically...
Okay, never mind. I got it. Codename Dark Web.
No.
Pop Pop Hiss?
No.
Pimp Destro.
No.
Hot Thing?
No.
While my battle buddies get that ironed out, I invite you to join us for G.I. Joe Chronicles. You can listen to it on its own solo feed wherever podcasts are found, or catch it under the LONGBOX CRUSADE Network umbrella. We look forward to seeing you at Fort Longbox.
Yo, Joe. Okay, how about Jim the Joe Junkie?
Maybe. Welcome back from the break. Now let's get to the first featured comic for this episode. And it is Amazing Spider-Man number 216. Credits for this issue are provided by Mike's Amazing World of Comics website. Publisher was Marvel. It's got a cover date of May 1981, but its on-sale date was February 10th, 1981. Cover price was 50 cents. Editor was Alan Milgram. Writer is Dennis J. O'Neill. Penciler is John Romita Jr. Inker Jim Mooney. Letterer is James R. Novak. Colorist is Bob Sheeran. This is reprinted in Essential Spider-Man Volume 10 trade paperback and Marvel Masterworks Volume 283 of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 21 hardcover. Cover credits go to John Romita Jr. and inker is Alan Milgram. And speaking about the cover, Jarrett, take us through the cover description.
All right, Pat. The Marvel Comics group banner is red with white letters, and Spidey swings in an orange, and I mean the color orange, not the fruit orange, corner box. The Amazing Spider-Man logo is yellow, again, the color, not the meaning of like cowardice, with red highlights, and it includes the webs. The main action features Spider-Man swinging over a stampede of marathon runners, and by runners, I mean athletes who jog long distances, not the long, narrow rugs that some people place in hallways, and he's attempting to stop a shadowy sniper in the foreground. A couple of cover blurbs read, and I mean read as in putting letters together to string words, not as in like Mr. Fantastic's first name. The race is on. Will death be the victor? And one more arrow-shaped cover blurb points to an insert of Madam Web, and it states, and when I say states, I mean like to proclaim, not like a geographically bound area having its own government. And don't miss the return of Madam Web.
I see how you kind of ran that along with the plot of the book.
Yeah.
The commentary on how I feel about the book in the cover description.
It must have been a marathon for you to put that all together.
And by marathon, he means a race of 26.2 miles.
I was wondering if I should run it by you, Pat.
Yeah. I'd be on the side if giving you water if you needed it.
Not the city in Greece, to finish my joke.
Marathon, Pat. That's what he was going with. Marathon's the city in Greece.
Okay. I'm bad with my geography. I'm sorry.
I'm terrible at geography, but pretty good with random trivia.
I am bad at either one. With that, I think let's go ahead and get to some quick cover thoughts on this. And we will start with Delvin. What's your thoughts on this cover?
It's not a bad cover. The thing that mostly saves it is the action pose. Spidey's looking good in his action pose. The sniper looks like it could be anyone. So him swinging into action to stop the sniper is pretty cool. That's a pretty terrible sniper if you think about it, because literally everyone is looking at the sniper. So he hasn't exactly fooled anyone, has he? Got to go back to basic sniper school. BSS, by the way, totally a thing. And yeah, Madam Web on the cover, I could take or leave her because I'm sorry, we're not going to be seeing Madam Web in too many action poses. Not really trying to be a D about that. That's just true. She sits in a chair and she tells people stuff. That's kind of her thing.
Ironically, that's kind of our thing too.
That is.
Shush, Jared. It's different when we do it.
I feel kind of like her right now. Ooh, that's interesting that to put that together like that. So I would be Mr. Webb? I guess not.
Delvin could be Charlotte's Web because
it could be
Charlotte.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and go to Jason. What's your thoughts on the cover?
Wait, one more second. I got something to rip off over from Jason's joke. There's like, I'm going to be really pissed off if I leave like my bedroom and see Webb somewhere that's like some pig. Like, hey, I've been losing weight. Stop it.
It says crunchy. I love it.
I think that was worth interrupting for. I got Jason to lose it.
This is good. Oh, man. Cover. All right. Back. Get yourself back together, Jason. Much like Delvin, I think the cover is serviceable. Good action pose, like Delvin said. I am kind of interested in Madam Web, not being all familiar with all the characters in Spider-Man. Her character interests me. I'm kind of glad to get in on the ground floor of this character, if you will, and see where this develops. I think probably the most positive thing I can say about the cover is it had to be hard to draw all those people, all those marathon runners in the background. I could think of probably ways they could have shortcutted that, but it really does lend itself to the story where you have just a mass of people and Spider-Man's trying to protect all of them throughout the course of the book. And you can see on the cover right there, everybody that's in danger of the sniper. And Delvin's right. He needs to go back to BSS. But I have to give a shout out for all the detail of all the runners there, all the marathon runners.
I agree with you too. I am very interested in Madam Web. I like the blurb, the circle and the little blurb that's around there kind of and pointing her out. I'm like, oh, Madam Web one. I'm interested. I really enjoyed it when she showed up the first time. So like you said, we're right on the ground floor of what's happening here. Along with, I think this has got a little bit of a rakish angle. I could be wrong, but from that point of view, looking at, and then you have a little rakishy angle of Spider-Man coming at you and looking down at the marathon runners. Jarrett, what's your thoughts?
Echo you guys. The definite thing that leapt out to me was the complexity of the cover with all the people, like Jason mentioned. And so I was like, man, that's a lot of detail. You know, we recently recorded, I think it was the one before last, and it was like Spidey and Namor, and they were quasi-flying, jumping. There wasn't really much background to it. Mm-hmm. They really, did a good layout. I like the way the marathoners flow from top right to bottom left. You've got the shadowy figure, which gives you a nice spot to put the Madam Web thing to make it pop, because it pops on that darker background. So all in all, like as far as balance goes, it's pretty cool. Delvin mentioned a great action pose. Absolutely. So yeah, this is one of those ones where I feel like the cover might exceed the story itself. I think it's a really good layout, and I feel like Romita Jr. and $10 Owl are hitting their stride here.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and see what we all thought of the cover rating. As a reminder of our rating system here at the LBC, it's a 1 through 5 rating. 5 is you loved it. It tickled your tummy feathers. 4, really liked it. 3, liked it. 2, didn't like it. And 1, you hated it. It ruffled your tummy feathers.
Jared's on mute. He usually makes us something. I got you, Jared.
That's for the 5 right there.
Jason, 1 through 5 on this cover.
I'm going to give this one a solid 3. I could bump it to a 4. It's just kind of a lack of a clear villain or an interesting villain. Kind of just settles me on a 3, but it is a good cover, good action pose, and like I said, a lot of good detail there with the runners.
We'll go to Jarrett. 1 through 5.
I'm going to drop a 4 on this one. I also forgot to mention how well the Amazing Spider-Man logo lays across the green trees at the top, which makes the yellow pop better. So I'm really liking the color balance. I'm really liking the layout, really liking the flow. Jason's right. It doesn't have an iconic villain, but just the work alone, I'm giving it a 4. I like it a lot.
Interesting. Delvin, what do you have? And if you don't mind giving us some thoughts from the chat as well.
Auburn Elvis gives it a strong 4. Billy D gives it a 3. I'm with Billy. I give it a 3. It's not a bad pose at all. I can at least give appreciation to the fact that there are so many bodies, and they didn't skimp on it. It's just one of those books where there weren't any supervillain bad guys. So you got to go with what you got to go with. And it wasn't bad overall. So I give it a 3.
As well as you and Billy, I'm going to give it a 3 as well. Yeah, it just doesn't pull you into it to really want to open it up and see what's going on. It's missing something.
Myself, don't want to be all by myself.
We've all been there, Jared.
Yeah.
We've all been alone on 3 Mile Island or 4 Mile Island.
Everybody's got to take their turn. With that, let's go ahead and get into a story synopsis for this issue, and that is brought to you by Delvin. While attending a demonstration in radiology, high school student Peter Parker was bitten by a spider which had accidentally been exposed to radioactive rays. Through a miracle of science, Peter soon found that he had gained the spider's powers and had, in effect, become a human spider, a Spider-Man. Stanley presents The Amazing Spider-Man.
The title of this issue is Marathon. I said it like that because there was no exclamation point. It was just, marathon, which kind of describes this issue. Anyway, I'm rambling, and that has nothing to do with my synopsis. Spidey is down in the dumps after his battle with Namor in the Frightful Four. Apparently, he hurt his right leg or something. Maybe left. I don't know. Raise your hand if you remember that he hurt his leg last issue. Just kidding. I'm not looking at you. This is a podcast, silly. Jeez. Anyway, Pete gets curbed spectacularly by Deb Whitman, so he goes to the ER, and after getting advice to stay off his leg for a week, the action starts. Spidey overhears some goons talking about taking someone out of a race. Since he has no idea how to find out any clue about this at all, he contacts Madam Web. And to be honest, that's all you need to know. Spidey got the term races confused. See, Spidey thought he meant race like marathon, but the goons were talking about race like congressional, but at least not race like Oriental or African American. That would be a very dicey book to write, I'm betting. Anyway, Spidey stops the goons with Madam Web's help. That's the main point. She's clairvoyant. Yep. Back to you, Pat.
Delvin, thank you for webbing that all together for us.
Ooh, that was nice.
I appreciate that.
That was nice.
all that went on in this story, and you come out with that nice wrap it up in a web. I like it. With that, let's go ahead and get into the bric-a-brac for this issue, and let's find out, is it a first read or a reread? Jared, first read or a reread?
First read for me, Pat.
Ooh. Delvin?
It's the first read for me, Pat.
Jason?
First read for me as well.
Woohoo! It is a first read for me as well, too. We did it. It's a reading rainbow. Reading rainbow. Reading rainbow. I love it when we rainbow. It's always fun. with that, let's go and find out some high, lows, or probably some what does in this one. Let's find out as we go through a couple rounds of that. And let's start off with Jarrett. What's your high, low, or what the for the round one?
Let's clear the decks on the low early. The whole I got run confused with run. Like I was reading it and I was like, that's dumb. But then I was like, you know what? I am almost 47 years old. Let me think back to what like 7-8-year-old Jared would have thought. And I was like, that's dumb. That's my right.
Wow. Thank you for that intelligent insight on how your mind works.
It was just like they kept like putting pictures of the post, like election posters in the background too. Like it's so obvious what's happening here.
And Peter's even commenting on them.
I was like, oh goodness, like we're really doing this, are we, Denny? Denny, you're better than this. You are better.
Well, see, let's just blame it on Peter being so wrapped up of the other thing in here, with him and Deb. Man, did he get the...
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We will get to that.
I'm blaming it on that. That's why he didn't see everything, because he was blinded by...
He got biffed.
Did you ever see that movie, was it, I think it was Black Sheep, where they accidentally got the nitrous oxide in the car, and they're like, Road, and all limit. I feel like that's what happened to Denny. Like some nitrous oxide got into his office and he was like, race and race could mean two different things. But anyways, I am excited to talk about the Debbie Whitman. But my turn is over. So,
all right. Well, we'll see what Dylan wants to talk about. Do you want to continue on, or do you have a different high, low, or what the?
I'll continue on with the low/what the train, where it's like, woof. I'm not going to say that this issue took things to a screeching halt, because it didn't. The main point was they wanted you to remember that Madam Web is still a thing. And of my vague Spidey memory, I know she's going to be around at least a year and 2 or 3 or 4 months from now. So she's going to be around for the next foreseeable future in Spider-Man. As to what purpose,
that was funny.
That was unintentionally funny. Foreseeable future. I wasn't even trying. Anyway.
Sometimes they write themselves though.
Sometimes. Like I wish I were that clever, like act of mine. I unintentionally made a hilarious. Anyway, that's kind of a hard sell for a book. Everything kind of just seemed really predictable in this book. And that's never where you really want to be. Like it was predictable that Deb Whitman was going to curb the heck out of Peter Parker. It was predictable that Spider-Man was going to find some way to jump into action, even though he shouldn't have. It was predictable that the person that was on the phone trying to call Spider-Man was Madam Web, especially after about the 3rd time. So, yeah, not the most inspiring book. And maybe it's just by nature. Maybe they were like, okay, let's take a break. But the only main thing that advanced any sort of real action was that Madam Web came back, and they barely even showed her in the comic book. So a little disappointed.
Yeah, and she was kind of like, too, oh, you're mad. Don't say my name. You already know it. Or she said that to Peter. She's like, oh, this is, Spider-Man. I know who this is. It's like, come on.
I got caller ID.
Call me now for your bomber reading.
Web lines are standing by. Jason.
It's old TV commercial in case people forgot.
Yep. We get it. I get it. Deanne Warwick is there helping her out.
Well, I guess it's my turn. I feel like I'm going to try to convince you folks to look at the plot a little deeper. And maybe I was inhaling some of that nitrous that Denny was huffing there when he wrote this thing. But the thing that I found interesting about the plot, and you're right, there were a lot of predictable elements in the story, but I kept asking myself, when he first asked Madam Web, give me a clue here, and she's like, oh, the universe isn't lined up or whatever. So Spider-Man went out, and I think this is a tribute to Spider-Man as the character to try to do what he can, right? And in the process of doing so, when he's solely focused on trying to save the life of whomever is the intended victim here, he saves a lot of lives just being there. And we can talk about, the safety commission for this race, but that might be another topic. This was definitely not ADA compatible for that guy in the wheelchair. Lots of complaints, but Spider-Man being Spider-Man saved a lot of people, stopped a guy from getting his wallet picked, did a lot of things that made me say, I wonder how Madam Web is in tune to the universe. And maybe the universe is saying, no, we're not going to give you the answer straight away because you have other work to do, right? You have Spider-Man work to do. So that was kind of an interesting angle for me to look at it. Just the fact that he was just being Spider-Man saved a lot of lives, even though he couldn't get the answer for the problem he was actually working on.
I see what you're saying, Jason. That is helpful to kind of see it in that point where this is just a normal day in the life of Spider-Man where he's just doing low-level superhero things. It's not every day it's biff, baff, boom, and you're fighting everybody, all the toughies and the bad guys. There's some one or two bad guys in this that are doing something, but it's not like A-lister bad guys or big-name bad guys on this one. So, it helps open my eyes up to this.
Saved a lot of lives in that one issue.
So what would happen if he wasn't around? All that stuff would just...
Right. If the universe had given him the answer, he could have gone right to the water tower, stopped him right there. But everybody else that he would have bypassed, those folks that were on the fire escape, the guy in the wheelchair, all the people that the drunk guy was going to hit in the car, by the universe not telling him he was there at those moments. Blows your mind, man. Blows your mind.
Definitely blows your mind. All right. Well, with that, let's go into round 2. We'll start with Jarrett. You got high, low, or what the?
Let's talk Debbie Whitman. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. It's one of those things where Pete was at as low as he needed. He's like, I need that rock solid Debbie Whitman. And he'd taken her for granted. He pushed it too far. And when you saw him at his lowest of his low and he needed her to pick him up, about 4% of me felt bad for him. The other 96 was like, nah, son, you did this to yourself. You did this to yourself.
You could have stayed around for breakfast. You should have stayed for breakfast. At least it would have been a little.
That breakfast she made too. Oh, my goodness.
Man, like
baller. It was a baller breakfast. I mean, put
the spread
out for Peter. Oh, my God.
He deserved it. You're going to pass
I can't wait to see what happens in Karma Count with around this. I'll be honest with you. But the only thing that I don't like about it is this. That's kind of a low. It's not really a low. It's just like, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for you, Pete. And I kind of gave a low in the first round. So I want to end on a high note. And it's just going to just echo what Jason said. You didn't have to have a big bad guy to tell a cool Spidey street level, saving a lot of people story in New York. And I thought that was kind of fun and refreshing. I picked on Denny in the front because I think the gimmick is silly, but ultimately, like through Jason's lens, it was a cool little sort of New York based story. And I like that.
Yeah. I think you guys are helping to kind of turn me around on this one. I was like, I've started to think that this thing is filler, right? But maybe there's some fun in it or some other stories going on. I am more, continuity. I like to see progressive stuff happening and continue to happen, as we will see kind of in the next issue that we're covering. But this one, Jason's point of view is really turning me around on it. Delvin, what do you have for another high, low, or what the?
Jason did have a good point of view, period. I want to see more out of a Spidey story. Like, that's why I'm disappointed. Like, yep, that is something that, to me, this is something that Spidey does off camera. Like, where he just casually is going to save human lives, because that's certainly what he feels that he has been blessed with, the powers that he has in order to do that. And those all were cool things. And I'm also agreeing with Jared in that, Pete got what was coming to him. If you get somebody who is a dime like Debbie is, and you're just sitting there stringing her along like, oh, I'm only going to come to your place when I need you, and I am going to leave immediately after I'm done using you, which is what he did. He came to her place, passed out. She nursed him to health and left his sorry butt on her couch for like a full day. And then he woke up to breakfast and he was like, okay, yep, see ya. Okay, come on, really? You think you're going to get that treatment more than once? Why should you? He didn't earn it. And like Auburn Elvis having to mention, he's like, I'm a biggest fan of Pete as there is, but I'm Team Deb on that one. I'm with Team Deb on this one too, because I saw it. I'm like, yeah, Pete, that's what you get, bud. Because like you took somebody who treated you like a king and absolutely just you should have treated her better. Period. And that's really it. I mean, we already talked about Madam Web and a little bit. We talked about Deb, and those were the two main plot points. Besides just the general story itself, kind of being a day in the life. So.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think the bigger things in this issue was the Deb brushing Peter off reveal and, a little bit of Madam Web and the story of, like Jason said, how they bring things out in this one. So really wasn't a lot other things to kind of talk about. A little fun moments, but we'll get to that in Silly Spidey. Jason, do you have a high, low, or what to add?
I think we kind of talked a little bit about it, but my low is just Peter's attitude through the whole book. I get that Peter Parker's supposed to be the every person hero, right? So he doesn't have the big fortune of the Tony Starks or the Reed Richards. And, he's the street level guy. And sometimes his life as Spider-Man gets in the way of his life as Peter Parker. These are all things that I really like about the character. They add a dimension to him that some of the other characters, frankly, don't have. But it's laid on so thick. In this is, oh, woe is me, my leg. Oh, woe is me, this. And then when you add the Debbie Whitman part, it's like, no, this is you doing it to yourself, right? And at some point in time, I'm just like, okay, just go seek a therapist, Peter, because I'm getting tired of hearing you whine about things that you're causing. So from that aspect of it, that kind of writing brought down the issue for me a little bit.
I want to add something, Pat.
Go ahead.
Jason was saying. I personally think Spidey is at his best when he is struggling / prospering / thriving in the face of adversity. And yeah, he can admit that he has issues, but it's like, yep, I can persevere through this. And sometimes writers can get to a point. There's like the most pointed time I remember was after the Clone Saga in Spidey, which was about mid to late 90s. And the book had nosedived so badly as far as like people picking it up. Amazing Spider-Man. Can you believe that? Like flagging the subscriptions and viewership to Amazing Spider-Man. But it happened. And for whatever reason, they kept Howard Mackey on the book. I think John Byrne was doing pencils at the time, and it was some of the most morose Spider-Man that I had ever read because all he did was complain the entire time. Woe is me. I only have these awesome powers and I could be a millionaire tomorrow if I applied myself half a bit. Oh my God, my life is terrible. Like, dude, really? And so they didn't lay it on like that thick or this long, but even like reading like a little bit of it, him talking about, my leg hurts and now like this girl I treated like crap isn't with me anymore. Oh, it's so terrible. Like, just like Jason said, like, bud, you kind of earned that. Yeah. Like you sort of got to admit that, like wear that L and then keep going, man. But yeah, that's kind of when it sort of started on that note, it just rung familiar of sometimes some of the beats that they'll put Spidey in that they lean a little bit too far as him being like sad and morose because that's not Spider-Man. Like he's aware of his circumstances and he thrives because of them. That's the Spidey that I love reading.
And if I was writing it, when Biff came to the door, he'd be eating that big breakfast.
Big old sandwich with bacon and all, and like,
that's right. Yeah.
Like you think I'm throwing all that food away? I ain't throwing all this food away.
Oh man, yeah.
Like Doc Ock with that chicken. Remember that back in the day?
Remember that bucket of chicken? Oh man, yeah. You're right. As we were talking about it in the issue before, I was happy to see Peter kind of get up his comeuppance in this one, you know? I was like, yeah, you go, Debbie, and yeah, Peter, it's all on you. Like Jason said, I said, this is what you get. Stop being a dummy head. Be a smart head. And get,
Easy, Pat. Family show, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, but this really rubbed my tummy feathers the wrong way with that.
He wasn't a chumzo. He was a chumpzo.
Yeah, chump zone. Definitely. Elvis does try to help us out with his no prize explanation of Peter's choice is in this issue, is he's blaming it that Pete's still not recovered from what Sandman did to him in the Namor fight.
Oh, man.
There's a little PTSD, post-traumatic Sandman disorder.
I don't know if that still can cause what you did, but man, I don't need to see that picture ever again. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the silly Spidey moment for this issue. Was there a silly Spidey? Maybe. I have mine picked out, but let's see if anybody else picked it as well, too. We'll go with Jason.
I think my silly Spidey moment was his encounter with J. Jonah Jameson.
Okay.
Yeah, when he webbed up the camera. Jameson, I want to show that Peter Parker how to take photos. Spider was like, no, you're not.
Delvin, do you have a silly Spidey?
That's mine too. Okay. Because it's one of those where, like, now looking back, like at modern day Spider-Man, J. Jonah Jameson knows who Spidey is, and he probably should. But at this point, they were at least playing along like J. Jonah Jameson didn't. And it's one of those, like, of course, like of all the things that J. Jonah, especially in Spidey's early history, put Spidey through, Spider-Man absolutely should see him and web his camera to his hand. And so even if that's going to mean that's like Jonah's going to like turn up like the anger level in the bad action towards Spidey just a little bit, it's worth it. It's like, you know what? You're a pain in my butt, Jonah. So I'm just going to be a pain in your butt just a little bit more. So I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, Auburn Elvis might take some karma points off for that, but I think those karma points are well worth it.
We will see. We'll definitely see. Jarrett, do you have a silly Spidey moment?
Well, I like that moment too, but I have one in my back pocket. I like the cabbie who has an irrational hatred of people from Cleveland. It makes no sense, but to him, it makes total sense. So got it. That cabbie was cracking me up like, okay, bud.
Akron's okay, though.
Yeah, that was funny. I was like, why is he asking that? Oh, okay. Mine was when a guy answered the door and he said, hasta la vista, chumzo. I like the chumzo. It's a pretty good one. There was the chuckles in here as well, too, but, chumzo. I had to read that again. Did he call him chumzo?
He can call him whatever he wants to. He got the girl. So
yeah, that's true. I just don't think I've ever heard of the word anybody be called chumzo. I found that funny. With that, let's go ahead and get into the ratings for this issue. As a reminder, it is a 1 through 5 rating. 5 is you loved it. It tickled your tummy feathers. 4, you really liked it. 3, you liked it. 2, didn't like it. And 1, you hated it. It ruffled your tummy feathers. Delvin, 1 through 5 for the story.
I might be the low guy on here. This is a 2 for me. And the reason why it's a 2 for me is there was something Auburn Elvis was mentioning that they did like a similar type storyline in Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. And that literally is where a story like this should be. In a Spectacular Spider-Man, not in the Amazing Spider-Man. He needs to be fighting some big bad guy or whatever. And we're about to get to, in my opinion, what's the better of the 2 books that we covered in X-Men. And like in that ramp up is like, oh my goodness, Magneto's coming, but we're going to throw Dr. Doom at you before you get to Magneto. And it's like, what? And Amazing Spider-Man's like, day of the life. Yeah. Nope. I want more out of my Amazing Spider-Man because Amazing Spider-Man is like this Marvel flagship, period. So you should have flagship stuff going on in there nearly at all times. You can relegate everything else to, adjectiveless Spider-Man or Web or Spec Spidey, but not Amazing.
I kind of see where you're going from there. I definitely agree with you on that. Jason, 1 through 5.
I can see Delvin's point, and, Delvin's invested a lot of time reading Spider-Man. I haven't spent as much time, so I'm going to be a little more generous and give it a 3. for me. I'm still interested in the Madam Web character, so that drew me in a little bit. Even though I didn't like the emo Spidey so much, the emo Peter Parker, maybe we should say, I did like the Spider-Man parts. I did like him doing what I guess is usually relegated to Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, him swinging around, saving people, stopping pickpockets. It was just really cool to see him do that juxtaposed over the race of the marathon. I thought that was clever in design, maybe a little clumsy in execution, but enough for me to give it a 3.
All right, so you're bumping it up just a little bit more. Jared, are you a 2, a 3, a 4?
The big challenge I have here, Paz, I didn't read the book, but if I did, I'd probably give it a 3. Yeah, it feels like a 3 based off the discussion I heard about it. So,
okay.
No, I'm right there at the 3. Same reasons as Jason. I get where Dalvin's coming from, though. I don't like wheel spinners a whole lot either. And he's right. It has the unfortunate timing to be up against a pretty darn good X book that we're going to be talking about. So, yeah, I'm at the 3.
All right. Well, I'm going to split us down the middle, and I'm going to agree with Delvin on a 2. It's a strong 2 because I liked Madam Web in it, and I like Peter getting his comeuppance, but the rest of it, I was like, it's just filler for me. Filler. I wanted something more.
If you average all scores, even though Joe's not here, you get a 2.5, and that's probably where this book belongs. That's what
I would agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not like I hate it. I just, like Delvin, I need it a little bit more in this to go. So 2 cool guys at a 2 or 2 chumps at a 3. 2 chumzos.
No, somehow you're always
on the 2 cool guys side.
Hey, I don't do, that's just what Madam Web, she tells me, just that's how it goes. If you want to get on 2 guys, then you got to, ask Madam Web what Pat's going to pick. Oh, wait. Oh, did I just give it away? Never mind. I don't know how it turns out. It's just the way it goes. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and get into some karma count and see how is Albert Elvis going to rate Peter with the karma. Is he going to get it more? Is he going to get less? What's going on? We will find out.
Interesting, because he did a lot of things that I think Albert Elvis is going to give him some karma credit for, but we got the Deb Whitman karma credit.
Yeah, like how much does it how much does that cut out? Is like 75%, and then he's got to work his way back up? I don't know. But let's go ahead and find out.
I guess I'm your karma, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. There's nothing above it.
Hello, Crusaders. This is Auburn Elvis. Have you ever wondered if superheroes can improve their strength by working out? Well, according to the 1984 Marvel superhero role-playing game, they can, but it ain't easy. In the game, heroes gain and lose karma points for how heroic their actions are. Karma can be saved up over time and spent to improve a hero's ability scores. Improving an ability costs 10 times its current score. So, if Spider-Man wanted to improve his strength of 40 to a 41, it would cost him 400 karma points. And to give you an idea of how long it would take Spidey to earn that much karma, here's the karma count for his actions in this issue. Amazing Spider-Man 216 takes a while to get going, with almost the entire first half being Peter thinking about his problems. This sort of stuff happens in games fairly often, so I'm just going to give him a 10-point karma role-playing bonus for all the self-reflection and hope old Chumzo puts it to good use. But once the marathon starts, the karma is flying. In the span of a few pages, Spidey gets 30 karma for stopping the runaway car, 20 karma for rescuing the wheelchair racer, 100 karma for catching the folks on the falling fire escape and stopping it from crushing the people below, 10 karma for stopping the pickpocket, and 20 karma for rescuing the runner who had a heart attack. Now, of course, since Spider-Man almost publicly beat up a very overdressed banjo player, he will lose 5 karma there. Now, the adventure continues with a 5 karma role-playing award for the J. Jonah Jameson insults, 30 karma for stopping the assassination, and a 5-point deduction for the property damage to the water tower. So, counting everything up, Spider-Man earns a total of 215 karma in this issue. That's a lot, especially for an issue that took so long to get to the action. If Webhead did this sort of thing one more time, he'd have enough karma to improve his strength from a 40 to a 41. I'm Auburn Elvis. Thank you very much for listening to this karma count. Play us out, Joe November!
I guess I'm your karma, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. There's nothing above it.
Thank you, Auburn Elvis, for the karma count.
I forgot about the banjo player.
Yeah, he did get a little minus on that one too. So thank you again, Auburn Elvis, for doing that for us. We do really appreciate you adding that segment to the show, and it's fun to see how much karma is he going to get. So I'm wondering, is he going to go up in level next time then? If he gets it another, we'll find out with all that he does. That's going to bring us to the end of this part of the show. You got a comment or a question? Send us an email at contact@longboxcrusade.com or leave a comment on the Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook page. We will be right back.
Spider-Man and the Cupcake Caper.
Peter Parker is in Mary Jane Watson's apartment when suddenly he sees a familiar enemy.
MJ, you'll have to excuse me for a minute.
You have this thing, Tiger, and I hate it. Every time there's trouble, you disappear.
Relax, MJ. All I want to do is get some milk we have with these Hostess cupcakes.
Sure, Peter. Anything to avoid reality. But at least this time, you left me with a really delicious snack. Devil's food cake, chocolate, king creamy filling.
I hate having Mary Jane think I'm a coward, but there's no other way I can slip into my Spider-Man role. And only Spidey can handle Man Mountain Marco. Don't look now, Marco, but the mountain just became a molehill.
Webhead, we don't understand you, but we sure appreciate the help.
Thanks, guys. Meanwhile, I've got a quart of grade A to deliver. Sorry it took me so long, MJ, but I got a little bit distracted. Yeah.
Well, no sweat, Peter. The Hostess cupcakes you left me with were a lot more rewarding to me than you ever been.
Brother, if she only knew.
You get a big delight in every bite of Hostess cupcakes.
Welcome back from the break. Now let's get into the second featured comic for this episode, which is determined by our Crusader Club members. Club members get to vote on this segment using the online poll only available at the Longbox Crusade page at patreon.com. As always, we want to thank our Crusader Club members for voting to help determine the programming for this show. If you want to get in on the voting and all the other amazing benefits of being a Crusaders Club member, that means all the access that you would ever want. Just head on over to patreon.com and search for Longbox Crusade. You can join in as little as $1 a month, and we're holding to it. $1 a month will get you all the access.
Patreon said 5, and we said,
wait a minute, Patreon. No. We love our supporters too much. We're staying at the $1 mark. That's what we're doing.
We put Laurel in touch with them, and she took care of it.
She got care of it. Yeah. Thank you, Laura, for helping us out with that. You can join us for as little as $1 and help determine the featured comic for the second issue of the show. Just head on over to patreon.com and become a member there. So the club members had selected Uncanny X-Men number 145. The credits for this issue are provided by Mike's Amazing World of Comics. Publisher was Marvel. It's got a cover date of May 1981. Its on-sale date was February 17th, 1981. Cover price is 50 cents. Editor is Louise Simonson. Writer Chris S. Claremont.
Esquire!
Penciler is Dave Cockrum. Letter is Joseph
Welcome
Rosen.
Back, Dave. Sorry, I want to make a big deal out of it. Welcome back,
okay.
Dave. Ow, ow, ow.
Ooh, welcome back. Inker is Joseph Rubenstein. Letter is Joseph Rosen. And colorist go to the Color Me Bad colorist Glennis Wee.
Woo! Yo! Man.
Getting the band back together.
Getting the band back together from when we first started this X-Men journey.
Oh, yeah.
Forced march in my case, but it's a journey nonetheless.
And you can help Jared along with that. Join him by voting on the Crusader Club for $1 a month.
Or you can just keep him on that march.
Yes. This is reprinted in X-Men Classic number 49. It's Essential X-Men Volume 3 trade paperback. Marvel Masterworks of Volume 90. Uncanny X-Men Volume 6 hardcover. Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 2. And X-Men Epic Collection I Magneto. Cover credits for this are done by penciler Dave Cockrum, and inks go to Joseph Rubenstein. And speaking about the cover, Jarrett, give us a cover description.
All right, sir. The Marvel Comics group banner is orange with red letters. The Uncanny X-Men logo is yellow with red highlights. The corner box is white, and it contains the heads of Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, and Angel. The main action features Dr. Doom triumphant. He stands on the unconscious bodies of the X-Men while holding a knocked-out Storm around the waist and raising his goblet of victory. Right?
Yes.
And hey, like Pat said, it's the return of Dave Cockrum. And I didn't make any crude or immature jokes at all in this cover description, and that should bring everyone some happiness.
I bet you it was very hard for you to do that, Jared.
Pat, I don't like it when you play along with these.
Ooh, that I was on mute, and I probably needed to be because no one needed to hear me laugh that loudly.
That's giving me some stiff competition.
That was fantastic.
Rock hard.
That was fantastic. Pat, I didn't even hear yours. I was laughing at Jared's. What did you say after that?
I don't remember. we had a flurry there. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. It's a family show. We don't want people to get testy. So
that was just nuts.
Yes. Oh, Jared, you do such a baller job on those covers.
It's new lows, Pat. It's new. Yes. You got to be the adult on this, Pat. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Okay.
You're the head of the show.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to some quick cover thoughts on this issue. And we will start with Jason. What's your thoughts on the cover?
Man, all joking aside, this is a treat. I've been sitting here staring at this. And as we've been going through X-Men, we've had Cockrum, we've had Byrne. It's hard to tell who's the better of the two. If you made me choose right now, I'd say Byrne on the interiors, but Cockrum, good golly, Miss Molly on the covers, just no substitute. Holy cow. This is Dr. Doom at his best. If you were going to have, well, I'm kind of giving myself away, but if you're going to have the character of Doom on a cover to hang on your wall, right here. My boy is standing on the back of Colossus. He's cradling Storm, and he didn't even spill a drop of his drink. And he's holding that drink up and covering the X-Men sign. Like, you're not coming into my house and doing Jack S. This is Doom's house. And I gotta stop now. Pass it to somebody else.
Delvin,
was that the actual issue you held up? You fancy?
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
Yes, sir.
Ooh. Fancy boys.
Fancy
over
boys.
There. I'm hearing black and white reprint.
No, like with a few gaps, I got from low 100s all the way till whenever they started splintering Uncanny X-Men in like 48 different volumes and stuff, I got most of them. So anyway, the cover, when I looked for this cover, 145, sweet, I have 145, pulled it out, and I was walking out of comic book room and was like, oh, this is a 5. And like Miranda, who was like half listening, I was like, what did you say? I was like, I said it's a 5, honey. Like she didn't know what I was talking about, but I told her it was the cover because, I mean, look at this thing. Dr. Doom is already striking enough. And then you don't have Storm in the damsel pose, like necessarily, like she is in a defeated pose, and the rest of the X-Men are like right after. Man, just looking at it, Doom is drawn perfectly, simply and perfectly, and then the rest of the X-Men is like almost like they have no choice but to fall to the majesty of Doom. So you're about to read something that is just going on. Man, fantastic cover.
Jared, thoughts on the cover?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought of it was, and since we're live and we don't have a bleep feature at this point, I'll use the word flocking. Okay. It reminded me of Blade from Blade 2, what he said, you obviously don't know who you're flocking with, because that is what basically Doom is just emanating that. Like, you knocked on the wrong door. And everything Jason and Delvin said with that same level of excitement. And I'm going to crank it up a notch to point out that this is not a Fantastic Four cover. Like, to do it this well outside of his usual forays and around, because there's probably 100 great Doom covers in FF. This rivals any of those, and it ain't even like his wheelhouse of a universe. And maybe that's part of the appeal. Remember how much I said I like Namor on the Spidey cover because it's kind of fresh? Yeah. This has that freshness. This is like, it just, the color's well balanced. Again, I read it in the black and white reprint, so I get to see it with inks only, and it's phenomenal. The cover looks so good in ink only. By the way, so is the book, but we'll get to that. I mean, echo everything they said. Just one question about it, and anybody can answer this. We see all these defeated X-Men, right? One of which is Angel. Do you think he was actually defeated, or did he just kind of run into a window because he didn't see it there?
It was like Dr. Doom's song was just like, and Angel was like,
oh no. And the angel hate continues on the top.
Well, probably what happened is Dr. Doom just said, I just took over all your money. You got no money left. And he just went,
I have no purpose in this book then.
I definitely agree with everything you guys said about this cover, man. When I saw this was coming up and we were going to read it, I was like, man, what a great drawing by Cockrum on this. And just the confidence that Doom is showing here, it's just like, he is totally in control. And he's like, hats off to you, Doom. I'm having my drink and it's time to party. I just won.
It's like the X-Men need some help.
Yeah.
And Dr. Doom just gave him some help.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into some cover ratings for this issue, and we'll see where everybody's at. As a reminder, it is a 1 through 5 rating on this thing. 5 is you loved it. It gave you a ring to swing from. 4, you really liked it. 3, you liked it. 2, didn't like it. And 1, you hated it. It turned you into a baby. So, do we need to go around, or are we all just...
Everybody get up.
Oh,
Five.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, everybody get up.
This would be a good one to have on the wall somewhere. Like Jerry, you said, it's that good mix of Doom and the X-Men together. It's something you maybe don't see a lot, and it's really eye-catching.
Yeah, as we're talking about this, Chris Claremont going to be at Heroes Con. I may get this signed, and this issue may be going up on the wall.
That's a great idea. We see some 5.5 in the chat as well, too. With that, let's go ahead and get into the story. And that is brought to you by Jason.
Cyclops, Storm, Banshee, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Colossus, Children of the Atom, students of Charles Xavier, mutants, feared and hated by the world they have sworn to protect. These are the strangest heroes of all. These are the X-Men.
Stan Lee presents The Uncanny X-Men.
The title of this one is Kidnapped. Storm is informed by Arcade's villainous henchwoman, Ms. Locke, that the evil mastermind has been kidnapped by Dr. Doom, and that she, in turn, has kidnapped several of the X-Men's loved ones. The deal is simple. The X-Men will rescue Arcade from the world's top evil genius, or those whom the X-Men cherish will die by Ms. Locke's hand. With little choice, Professor X calls for all hands on deck. While Storm distracts Doom over dinner negotiations, Colossus, Angel, Nightcrawler, and Wolverine infiltrate Doom's lair to find and rescue Arcade. All seems to be going to plan until the team finds the dungeon lacking one psychotic supervillain, but occupied by 4 goons wearing enough battle armor and weaponry to take out the Fantastic Four. Although our heroes manage to overcome the 4 goons, Doom, true to fashion, has things well in hand and easily disposes of our plucky team of mutants. What is the fate of our would-be rescuers? What is the fate of the X-Men's loved ones? Was it me, or were there some sparks between Storm and Doom? All will be revealed.
Thank you, Jason, for that synopsis, that great synopsis. With that, let's go get into some bric-a-brac for this issue. And let's find out, is it a first read or a reread? Jared.
It's a reread for me, Pat. I'm just kidding. It's not. It's first read. I just didn't want Jason to feel bad. It's first read.
First read. All right. Delvin?
It's a first read for me.
It is a first read for me, too.
Everybody get read a rainbow.
Jason?
Butterflies and
first read.
What?
Did not have this in a trading collection. I picked it up fairly recently to fill in the gap and read it for the first time for this show today.
Whoa! Plot twist, like M. Night Shyamalan directed this episode.
I was holding it in. I was letting the suspense build.
Oh my goodness! Woohoo! Pat,
double rainbow.
Pat, I don't know what to do with my hands.
I see rainbows.
Woo! Reading rainbow.
Oh man, I was taking the hit for Jason at the beginning for no reason.
That's what even makes it even better.
Like a plot twist.
Jason just sitting there. Oh, you just wait, man. I'm gonna. Oh, awesome! Double rainbow for this episode, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. There's nothing above it. With that, let's go ahead and get into some high, lows, or what does then. And we will start with Delvin. Yeah, high, low, or what the?
Let's start with a high. And that high was a character you didn't even see in the book. His name is Eric Lehnsherr, otherwise known as Magneto. The specter of Magneto has already begun to descend upon the book, where you had Professor X mention, hey, me reaching out to the X-Men it was extraordinarily difficult. And the only time that I've had that difficulty is when Magneto was doing his Magneto things where the enzymes be coagulating with the telepathic rays and ish. Yeah,
as they do. Yes, as they do.
Yeah. So but seeing that, and then in that little precursor of Claremont was like, will they be ready for it? Who knows? And it was like, that's good, Claremont. That's real good, Claremont. Mm-hmm. Putting that Spectre there, you didn't even see him, but you know that he's coming, and the last fight that they had was a banger of a fight. They went at it. It was bloodshed, and Magneto had to go his one way, and they were in Antarctica in the Savage Land. So who knows? I know it's coming up, and I even I vaguely remember it's coming up in 150. But for Chris Claremont to start that build up now and not even have to show a image of Magneto, but he's coming. Ooh, I like that. That is some primo stuff.
Definitely, I do agree. I saw him lay that little egg there, and I'm like, ooh, boy, what's happening? What's happening? I like this issue is just the building of the stories that are going on here, the backgrounds, the continued storytelling that is happening. I love this, and it makes me continue to want to read it and figure out where is it going. I don't know where it's going to. So obviously, Delvin, you do. Mm-hmm. So
I actually don't. I'm with you. I know that they're fighting. I don't remember how. I don't remember anything about the circumstances.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm excited. Just these little nuggets of bits and pieces of stories that keep you interested and intrigued to read more and read more. Jared, what's your thoughts?
Well, Pat, I kind of wish I'd read it now. This is exciting stuff.
I'm telling you should. I've been telling you for 74 episodes now. You need to read the comic books before you come on the show.
Fine. I'm going to give a high in the round one. First of all, echo what Delvin said. Awesome. Again, I may not have mentioned this. I read this in the Essentials, right? Black and white, inks only.
Mm-hmm.
The art in this is insane. It's insanely good. And we've had Byrne forever. Byrne is insanely good. Like just looking at it in its pure inked form, it's crazy. The part where they get to the basement and like the 4 metal armored up guys come out. I mean, God bless you, Joe Rubenstein, because that is a pain in the butt to ink. Those
it's a lot of tech.
It's a lot of tech, and it all just looks so good. And Storm still looks gorgeous, and all the X-Men are just right, and it's Doom looks great. Every page in this book could be hung on a wall. Every page. The pencils are that good, and the inks just are perfect. It's like apparently Cockrum and Rubenstein are going to be the new Byrne and Austin because, I mean, Marvel. I think the sales were really rocketing on X-Men come early 80s. This book was really selling, and I think they realized it's time to invest. And not that they were, I mean, Byrne is an investment, but I think they had other things for Byrne. I think this is about the time where he probably spins off into Alpha Flight and Indiana Jones and stuff like that. But this, they're not going to miss a step. They're not going to miss a step. And it's just gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. And I'll talk more about the story in round 2, which I'll also have good things to say. So this is welcome to the topsy-turvy, you know, remember the old days when you used to get camera film and you look at the negative and it, yeah, that's this part of the episode.
Everything what is going on here?
Everything's backwards.
I totally agree with you too. The drawing inks in this are just very well done. Nice to look at. Just kept me turning the page and just turning the page along this. And, you know, who wouldn't want to sit down and have dinner with Aurora? You know, that would be a fun dinner to have. I said it solely. Down. I didn't say Aurora.
Yeah, you said it right.
I know, but it's still like I'm used to.
Well, you know, if I was going to sit down to dinner, I got to be able to make sure I can say her name right and not say.
That's
Aurora.
true. That's true.
But you know, and I wouldn't make sure that Colossus isn't there. You know, you'd be down. I'd be like, that would be me. I would be Doom. You know, and I'd have Aurora in my hand and Colossus on my. I'd be stomping him. Just like that.
Treating him like a bear rug down there.
who is this person pronouncing these X-Men names correct?
I just like I have a mental image now, like Pat, all throughout the week. Like he's in the shower and he's like, Aurora, Colossus.
Rubber baby bubby bunkers.
Dr. Doom was denied a bank loan.
Aurora went to lunch with me. It's upside down day. It's upside down. If Jared's happy.
Yeah, we're in the photo negative today. You're pronouncing everything right. I'm very happy with this X-Men book. Jason hadn't read it before.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Jason's internet is working.
I don't know what's going on.
Don't curse it, man.
Jason, high, low, or what the?
My high is that we are 145 issues into the X-Men, and they have never confronted Dr. Doom before. And the thing I love about Marvel back in the original days is that they cared about the continuity and who was where and who was doing what. So I love the fact that they had to reach out to the Avengers and their buddy Beast, who is now an Avenger, to say, what do you got on this Doom character? And Beast is like, man, maybe you need to get some help in there. They're like, nah, we got this. And narrator's voice, they didn't got this. So to me, that was one of the highs about it, just how the continuity really plays into this. And today in the comics, you'll have a run, they'll do an X-Men run, and they'll be like, okay, that was good, let's relaunch it. And that was good, let's relaunch it. And that was good, let's relaunch it. But back then, it's like things mattered. And so I enjoyed the little details, Beast being on the Avengers, giving them the information. They're going, maybe we should train up for this and do a simulation run in the danger room. But remember, Kitty Pryde, jack that danger room all up. So there is no danger room. So all those things all tied together and wove together. And if you want to find out how Dr. Doom had a castle in the Adirondacks, well, apparently you got to read Marvel 2-in-1 number 68 or something like that. But it all ties together. It all matters. And I love that about this era of comics.
Yeah, I agree with you too. That I was finding myself loving that. The little blurbs of, you need to see issue this and that. It's like, how did Sean Cassidy lose his voice or things like that? And see, in X-Men number 129, or you have the callback to how did Doom get that castle from Arcade or from Toad owned it, and all these other callbacks to different things. I really enjoyed it. And going back to Jared's detail in the art, Alvin Elvis makes a good point, and it did catch my eye as well too, that in Iceman's room, you can see a few things ran in the background. A spaceship Yamamoto. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's got that. You got a little Star Wars and Kiss albums on there too, as well too. So some hidden stuff in his room that was really cool to see as well too. So nicely done there. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into round 2 of high, lows, or what does, and we'll start at Delvin. Got another high, low, or what the?
A quick riff off of Jason's. Yeah, like back then, they also would do stuff like put Iceman in college. He was a sophomore in college. And then they made mention that Havoc and Polaris were also grad students. So that would mean that they're a little bit older than Iceman, probably by about 3 or 4 years. And those little touches were cool because at this point, essentially, the X-Men were a part of the Marvel universe, but really in their own universe. And they didn't really integrate the X-Men with the rest of the Marvel universe really until the 2000s. They did a little bit in the 90s, but it took a minute for them to really integrate the X-Men into the full storylines of the Marvel universe. In any event, let's talk about some of the interplay between Doom and Aurora and Storm. Pretty much perfect, really. Where, like, if you're Storm, who's going to say no? Like, especially Storm, who's going to say no to finding a way to peacefully get rid of or end a problem? That is literally what Storm would do. And with all of her magnificent powers, she is a peace-loving person at her core. And so she would do something like that. And then who would turn down a dinner with Aurora Monroe? Literally no one, because she's beautiful. And Dr. Doom is a lot of things, but a fool ain't one of them. And so they're sitting there at that dinner and they're both having their own states of play going on, where Aurora was hoping for peace, but it's got her X-Men in the background, doing the thing that they need to do. And Doom is sitting there watching the X-Men on the monitors, while at the same time, it's like, this woman in front of me is striking. And not only is she striking, but she's powerful. And then he made this reference, I'm going to blow it, but like the gist of it was like she doesn't fear me, but she should. Like, I want to bend her to my will. And it's just that interplay alone, fantastic. So good.
Yeah, that kind of mind battle that's going on in between them. I don't know. Would you want to see?
Don't say mind fight. Don't say mind fight. He didn't mean it.
This might be one that he might want to see. This might be something he wants to see.
This was like mental chess match. This is like Holmes Moriarty kind of thing. Well, Storm did her best, and she brought a lot to the table. But if you ain't Reed Richards, you ain't going to win the
category. That would be Lestrade.
Yeah, and I don't want to doubt. Like Delvin said, Storm did some really cool stuff and smart stuff and all that. But it's just like you ain't getting a step ahead of Dr. Doom. It's almost impossible. But she did a darn good job. But it's not even my turn. I need to shut up. Whose turn is it, Pat? I don't have the script.
It can be your turn. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was definitely going to bring up the mental battle that Delvin just did, but that's all right. I got a backup plan. Going to compliment Chris Claremont, you guys. So everybody, hold on.
What kind of day is this?
I don't know. He checked in on a lot of things. He checked in on the Stevie, whatever her last name. What?
Hunter.
Stevie Hunter thing. He checked in on we talked about Bobby. We talked about Polaris and Havoc. We didn't talk about Cyclops, which we checked in on him. He's like freaking Castaway now.
Yeah.
Except instead of Wilson, he's got a really pretty girl. So it's kind of in his favor.
Not so shabby there.
Ships look at him, move along.
It's funny, like, oh, there's a ship coming. It's like, yeah, it is.
She's like, the fire is out again? I don't know. But
I guess we just have to cuddle, just come here.
Just share bodily warmth, right? It's all we can do. But no, he checked in on a lot of things. He did the mental chess match we just talked about. He wrote a great action scene for Cockrum to draw. left the specter of Magneto. It's just like beat, 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 beat. And he's just, this is what I like to read. Yeah. I could keep going, but I'll be pulling a Pat. My favorite thing was the story. Let's start with page 1. Now I think it's Jason's turn. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. But, I want to just off of that too, the things that you mentioned that he's doing, that's what I really enjoyed about this. You catch in with even Kitty for just a few seconds, right? Just in 1 or 2 panels of how she's doing, what's happening. And then they actually kind of joke about, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could do a simulation in the danger room before we go and battle people? Sorry, you can't do it.
Yeah, that's broken.
I'm like, man,
danger room's like the shake machine at McDonald's, man.
It ain't working right now. But while we're talking about the dinner, how does Dr. Doom eat? You got that lavish spread in front of him. That was above and beyond the Debbie Whitman spread. How is he eating all that stuff? Like there was a turkey, there was all that stuff, and drinking too. Does he have like a little straw that he drinks through the grate of his mouth?
I honestly don't know. And they have shown him at a lot of banquet and dinner tables too. The man has to eat somehow. I'm not quite sure how he does it.
Does the slit open up for him to get it in? Is somebody there cutting it up in little cubes for him and feeding it? I'm questioning this because how does he make himself look good with the beautiful lady in front of him, but yet he's got to eat?
I imagine like he's got like a little mouth guard piece that goes down. So
he go down and he can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, for show. He just smoothies. He's just a smoothie guy.
Well, and he makes it sound like these meals are like every day, right?
Yeah.
He's that rich.
He's got Debbie Whitman working in his kitchen.
Could be. You never know. Man, of course, why wouldn't he? Hey, you're a great cook. Come on over here, and he treats her right, probably. Jason, enough about my talk on how Dr. Doom eats.
Well, we've talked about the mental chess match between Aurora and Dr. Doom. I will say that was a baller entrance she made, too, with that bolt of lightning to just like knock, knock. I don't remember what term it was that Jared used for MFer, but that was.
I think I said flocker.
Okay. Knock, knock, mother flocker. Here I am. And that earned her some respect, I think, in the eyes of Doom. There's no other way to make an entrance. She can't just knock on the door. But anyway, we talked about that. Let's talk about the physical fight. The fight between our infiltrating team and the 4 goons in the mech armor. Wow, that was a good fight. And dare I say, Angel was useful in this fight. And
whoa, heck,
he was.
Whoa,
I mean, he was able to infiltrate the folks. He was able to help take out some of the guards. And it was really cool to see that team come together and overcome a pretty significant obstacle. And for a moment, and this is good writing, it really gives you a little false hope, like maybe they can pull this off. And then they come busting in, knock, knock, mother flocker. And it's like, ain't nobody home, dude. Hit the button and they're out. So just great writing. The fight scene was great, set up for a great final act where you get the X-Men defeated. I loved it.
Agree. I think this was great build-up from start to end. And just, I want to read the next issue. I want to know what's going to happen. Where is this going now?
I tell you what, I know it's not my turn, but good work, Claremont. The level of concern is so high. With the specter of Magneto, there's only a few people in the villain class as dangerous as he is. And one of them is Dr. Doom. This is like...
Yes.
This is like playing Mega Man on the hard level, only one hand on the controller. Like, good luck, So, yeah, the stakes are very high.
And sometimes the stakes are very good, too. I would assume with the spread that Dr. Doom has.
Yes, the stakes
at Doom House, I would assume very delicious.
When he said stakes, he meant the consequences of winning or losing.
He brought it back.
I think we've said enough about this issue. Is definitely one to read and one to look at. With that, let's find out who went the extra mile. I mean, person I have in mind that went the extra mile. Are we all going to agree on it too? Doom.
It's got to be Doom, right?
Doom.
I was thinking Storm, but along the same lines. I mean, I get what y'all are saying with Doom, and I wanted to add just one other thing. I tell you what, there is probably like, as far as pantheon of Marvel villains, you have like, your Dr. Dooms, and you got your Magnetos up there, and sometimes Namor when he's like super big. And then you have like Mrs. Locke and Arcade when it comes to capturing people and bringing them to Murder World. They are amazing at that. They can capture the F out of somebody and get them to Murder World, or can't do crap in Murder World. It's like sprained ankle world, or possibly like light contusion world, but like getting
in there,
world,
yeah.
They should rename it Kidnapped World, because then,
well, maybe that's the game, though.
Undefeated as far as getting people to that freaking that Murder World. Oh my goodness!
Who could have possibly gotten that extra mile? I'm going to throw a pitch in for Wolverine, because Wolverine, during the course of this, he's the one that said, "We're going to do what? We're going to go up against Magneto to rescue Arcade? No. I have a better idea. How about we track down this Locke woman, kill her, kill everybody, that's associated with her who took our people, rescue our people, and let Arcade rot with Doom."
Nah.
Even like Professor X and Storm were kind of like, that's not the worst idea.
Not the worst idea I've ever heard. No.
I've heard worse ideas. So you didn't say nuke the planet,
I feel like it's because it came from Wolverine. Like, if anyone else had said it, it would have sounded like a good idea. Like, if Cyclops had been there and said it, they'd be like, yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, lots to talk about and discuss on this one. But so it seems like we got a few for Doom. We got some for Storm and one for Wolverine as well, too. So thank you guys for indulging me on that. But let's go ahead and find out how we would rate this one as well, too. Let's see where we all sit. As a reminder, it's a 1 through 5 rating. 5 is you loved it. It gave you a ring to swing from. 4, really liked it. 3, liked it. 2, didn't like it. And 1, you hated it. It turned you into a baby. Jared, what's
Well, we all know if someone's not going to rate it a 5, it's going to be me, right? I think that's where we're at on this show.
Maybe. I don't know.
Let me just, I got a couple things, Pat. Perfect cover, perfect interior art, excellent story. This is my favorite issue of X-Men we've read since we've started reading X-Men. It is a 5.
Ooh.
I wish they could all be like this.
I will take that. Man, I'm glad this journey has opened you up, and you feel like your heart of X-Men has just grown a few times bigger today.
Yeah, like the grid's just like,
yeah.
If Cyclops had been on this mission and kicking butt, how much I like Cyclops, I don't know what I would have done. I would just,
he's got his hands full right now.
I'm rooting for the guy. Trust me.
He just
the fire is out again.
Jason, 1 through 5.
It's a 5. This is the way that you set up before the big Magneto episode that we all know is coming. Ooh, this left me at a cliffhanger. I don't even know that I've read the next issue, because if I did, I don't remember how they get out of this. And I'm excited to find out. 5 all the way. Great story, great art, perfect.
Delvin, are you on 5 Island?
Yeah, absolutely. Easy 5. Just that the specter of Magneto, like I mentioned from like my first comment, it's coming, and the X-Men can prepare for it in no way possible because Dr. Doom just flattened them. They didn't want to mess with Dr. Doom, and it took them getting all of those X-Men back together. Professor X realized it was a threat. And it's like, look, I don't care if you're in college, whatever. We got to go and like save our teammates' loved ones, and we got to send y'all after Doom. I'm like, we have to do this thing, and they weren't ready. They prepared as best as they could, and they weren't ready. And this isn't even their main bad guy. So it's great storytelling. It's fantastic. It's a 5.
Agree,
Pat. Yeah. I think we need to get Professor Allen on the show, because peek behind the curtain for those of you watching the live stream, we've done a lot of recording for Crusademus already, and someone brought a very Dr. Doom centric episode to Crusademus, and it was amazing. So I'm starting to think Professor Allen's right. You add Doom to anything and it's better.
Yeah,
it's Doom. Dr. Doom is one of the most defined quote unquote villains, if not characters, that Marvel has ever created. Like, yes, he is a despot. Yes, like, I mean, you have to say he's a bad guy because he does not care what it takes in order for him to be the ultimate winner in a scenario. He's going to do it. And that line is what makes him a bad guy. But at the same time, like, the vast majority of his people of Latveria is like, they would say he's a good ruler. He's a benevolent ruler. Mm-hmm. He is so wonderfully complex.
That's why I love him and Lex Luthor too. They're like the same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if Lex Luthor ran the world, there would be a lot of happy people, right? Like that doesn't mean he's a good guy at all.
Yeah, Latverians are happy, but
yeah, it's
complicated.
But suffice it to say, that's why you can put for Crusademas, as a spoiler to y'all coming up, we have Dr. Doom facing Luke Cage in one of the books.
One of the best face-offs ever.
Yeah.
One of the wildest panels I've ever read, but I won't spoil it. But it still made sense. It made sense. Like, and you might think, like, how's Luke Cage in the book with Dr. Doom? And then you read that, it's like, oh,
why isn't Luke Cage in the comic book with Dr. Doom? You know?
Yeah, it's that shows you what a character Dr. Doom is. Though you can put Dr. Doom in any book and find some way for it to make sense. And
it was a confrontation I didn't know I wanted.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh, agree. I agree. I think you're right, Jared. That Dr. Doom is just a guy that you can place him in anywhere, and he's just gonna show up and do what he needs to do. And
it's like, he's like Darth Vader. It's like he shows up, you're like, oh damn, this got serious.
Yeah. I would have liked to have Professor Allen on. So Professor Allen, I'm sorry that we didn't get you on for this. We had a few guests lined up, but things kind of fell out. So hopefully I'll see what the next issue is. And if we can get you on and Doom's back around, we'll try to get you back on that one.
Good plan. Anyway, I think you were about to give your score. We hijacked it. We turned it to Doomcast episode 1.
Well, I agree with you guys as well, too. It's another woot, woot, woo. Everybody get up now. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mate. Get down.
Get down now. Woo.
Man, I'm just so excited. It's an X-Men that I'm very excited about.
It is.
This is good stuff.
Looking
if you had told me, hey, you got an upcoming issue written by Claremont, but Byrne's not on the book anymore, I would have been like,
I am just, even like I read the comments or the letter section of which Chris Claremont was, I guess they let the writers really take charge of it. Now it's more editor driven. And Chris Claremont did a blurb and was just mentioning, it's like, Dave jumped off this crazy ride, but now he's back on it. I didn't even remember. I thought that once Cockrum left the book, I didn't know that he came back. And he comes back with this fire and this cover and that artwork and Mr. Rubenstein along with him, that maybe he's gonna keep him on a monthly schedule. Man, the X-Men cannot be more blessed to have like such artists like that for the run that they have. Like Chris Claremont is so lucky to have those guys.
Yeah, I pulled this Essentials off because this one we read is the first issue in Essentials Volume 3. And I looked at the cover and it said Essentials Volume 3 by Claremont and Cockrum. And I was like, Cockrum's back? And I opened it up and I'm like, he drew the whole thing? I was like, oh, what kind of sorcery is this? Oh, Pat, welcome to Doomcast / Cockrumcast.
Welcome to We Love Cockrum Cast.
Like long runs of Cockrum too, just goes on and on. Like you're just impressed with the length.
Yes.
That Cockrum provides.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this part of the show. You got a comment or a question, you can call us and leave us a voicemail that we will play later on in the show. Leave us a message at 707-532-5269. That's 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone.
We will be right back.
Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr. If you're a history lover or a musical lover, you probably know about both Hamilton and Burr's rise to power in the early stages of American history and their infamous duel. But what if you didn't know the full story? What if one of them was a werewolf? White Rocket Entertainment proudly presents a 48-page full-color comic book, Hamilton vs. Burr, A Werewolf Tale. Written by Jared Albrecht, the yard sale artist, art by Nate Niles, colors by Ace Wheely and Ken Solomon, letters by Percival Constantine, and edited by Johanna Albrecht. Hamilton vs. Burr, A Werewolf Tale. Available digitally on Kindle and Comics Central, COMIX Central. Prefer a print copy? Hamilton vs. Burr, A Werewolf Tale, along with my other published works, are available at theyardsaleartist.bigcartel.com. That's theyardsaleartist.bigcartel.com. Or you can buy it directly from me, creator Jared Albrecht, the yard sale artist, at any of my Comic-Con appearances. Hamilton vs. Burr, A Werewolf Tale. Get your copy today. You won't regret it. Don't take my word for it. Here's what Ming Chen from AMC's TV series Comic Book Men had to say about it.
I really enjoyed it. A lot of great werewolf scenes in here. A lot of great... this is how I wish history would be told to kids. Books like Hamilton vs. Burr, A Werewolf Tale.
That's Hamilton vs. Burr, A Werewolf Tale.
Welcome back from the break. Now let's get to the feedback part of the show where we share your comments, emails, questions, and shares in a segment called Crusader Comments. We are thrilled to kick off these comments with special shout outs to our Crusader Club members. These are the fine folks that have joined our crusade. They enjoy early access to special Longbox episodes, voting to help determine show content, and so much more. So these are the folks reaping the benefits and giving some much appreciated support to the show.
And Helica Wolf.
Auburn Elvis in the chat.
Bill Beer.
Blast It or Stash It.
Braxton Underwood.
Captain Entropy.
Clinton Robinson.
Dave Collins, the Battle Wagon.
Ezra Gallo.
Gary Viola.
Gene Hendricks.
Gerald Green.
Jason Keene.
Jason Lady.
Jeremy L.
I just saw him last week. Jim Jarman. I hope you like Jim Jarman too.
Jim Meal joining us in the chat.
Joe Thomas, a.k.a. Joe November.
John Watson.
Josh Strickland.
Candace Ward.
Captivating Kathy Bright, the MVP in the chat.
Mark Ross, a.k.a. Cluck Trent.
Matt and Lissy Passo.
Maxwell Traber.
Miranda W.
P.D. Devons.
The soon-to-be in the United States, Paul Hicks.
Rick from Jeff and Rick Present.
Rob Morgan.
Samantha Maney.
Sean Urbanski.
Spidey 67.
Spreadsheet.
Steve Cronin.
Tim Price.
Tony Pennington.
And the Toronto Cop.
If we missed anyone on our list, we apologize. Keep in mind that we record these episodes well in advance of release, so if you're a recent addition, we should be adding you soon. But still, no worries. Just let us know we missed you by sending an email to contact@longboxcrusade.com and we will get it straightened out. As a reminder, you can become a Crusaders Club member by heading over to patreon.com/longboxcrusade. For as little as $1 a month, you will get access to the amazing world of the Crusaders Club. Come check it out. Don't have enough scratch lying around, but want to still help us out here at LBC headquarters? Please take a moment to write a review on Apple Podcasts for this podcast. Even if you just want to keep it short with just star ratings, it helps raise the profile of the show, and we will share your review on the next show. So we'll talk about Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles episode 69 from November 1980 that featured Amazing Spider-Man 213 and Uncanny X-Men 142.
Unpacking the power pack because the power pack can't stop.
The Bat Pod.
Tim Price, the Pod Crasher.
Outcasters. BATO podcast. What's the BATO stand for? Batman to Outsiders? Batman and the
Outsiders. Yep.
Batman and the Outsiders. There we go. Outcasters. Batman and the Outsiders podcast.
Scotty Cameron.
Rick Heineken.
Jim Meal.
And we have some social media comments. I will start out with one from Auburn Elvis. And he says, the reason the Wizard was going after Spidey was from the events of this Fantastic Four issue that was published earlier in this year. We have the cover included, but I don't know the issue. It's a pretty cool cover, though. And Auburn Elvis wanted to add that he ditched Deb Whitman again to go stop the Frightful Four. Seems like a thing that Pete liked doing, much to his detriment.
All right, I'll take our next comment from Tim Price. And Tim says, all this talk about Whitman candy, but no one mentioned the Whitman comic publisher. Check the logo in the upper left, and Whitman was famous for selling 3 packs of comics in toy stores, which I got a fair share of when I was young. Ooh, a 3-pack of Deb. Ooh, with some bacon, wrapped in bacon. That's bad, Tim. That's bad, Tim. But, and he shows a picture of a Walt Disney comic and stories back in the day with Whitman. And I do remember those 3-packs and having a lot of those Disney kind of different fun comic books like that. Thanks, Tim.
And for our live viewers, I have an unopened Whitman 3-pack of the 1, 2, and 3 of the Black Hole comics right here because I'm fancy.
All right, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Fancy. A scale of 1 to fancy. I'm fancy. All right. We got a comment from Scotty Cameron who said, great episode, guys. Fitting that this dropped right on Free Comic Book Day. Like hearing the discussion on Days of Future Past and Spidey taking on the Wizard. Funny, I know the Wizard from the video game Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, which I know Jason and I have both played.
Yep.
He's one of the first bosses in the game. And that's true. And thanks for dropping in and dropping a comment, Scotty.
Moving on down here, I've got one from Jason Lady, who says, fun and insightful commentary, guys, as always. I hear where Delvin is coming from on the X-Men story, how the older X-Men being killed by the Sentinels in the future is kind of irrelevant to the story. But my take on it is we have to see what Kate Pryde is trying to prevent by going into the past. Like, this is what will happen. The Sentinels will rule the continent, and your favorite characters will all get killed, unless Kate and the younger X-Men stop the Brotherhood. LOL at your comments about Angel. It's telling how he didn't come up at all during the majority of the discussion. That guy didn't get interesting or useful in a fight until he became Archangel. I never understood the zeal some folks put behind him before that. Not one of Lee and Kirby's better creations. We have some love to Angel. Right.
I mean, there's a point in this last issue. He's like, "Let's get them," and then in my head, I'm like, "What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Feather them to death? They're robots."
Tickle them.
I can see real far. I
thought he was awesome with that mace, and he's like from Thanagar, I think. And
I think that's Hawkman.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, he's the cool one.
It's like, I can see your useless in a fight. That's what I can see. Anyway, we got 2 more comments. One was from M. Anthony Gerardo, Mr. Rico Suave, who says, ironic, I have the original issue and multiple reprints of that X-Men issue. Nah, I don't think he's never seen this Amazing Spider-Man cover, but he wants it now. And one more from Billy Dunleavy, who was also in the live chat. Thank you. Who was just saying, looking forward to this one. So hope you enjoyed it, my friend. Voicemails. You can call us and leave a voicemail that we might play on the show. Leave us a message at 707-532-5269. That is 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone. Try my delicious breakfast.
Do all that. And thank you to everyone for the likes, shares, follows, and comments. We appreciate your friendship and your help in spreading the word about this podcast.
And that's the show. Be sure to check out the website longboxcrusade.com, where posts will be made for journaling this crusade. I want to thank Jarrett, Jason, Delvin, and everyone in the chat for joining us on this live recording of episode 72. We do really appreciate it. So much going on in the chat. Such a fun group in there. They're all chatting amongst themselves while we're chatting here, and it is great to see. So we really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. But before we go, let's find out where the listeners can find us on the internet. Delvin.
Twitter, DEE_RAY1977. Instagram, Delvin Ray. Jason.
Find me lurking on Instagram at Jason Albrick. Jared.
At Yard Sale Artist, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's all at Yard Sale Artist. You can check out my artwares at www.theyardsaleartist.com, Pat.
Well, Jared, I'm glad you asked. You can find me on the Twitter at Christatos01. And if you want to interact with us via live chat and be entered to win some free stuff on our live raffles, as we're doing now, so make sure you're in the chat the next time. Join us for our next episode of Doing It live stream here on YouTube. It's the second Sunday of every month. 3:30 p.m. Central Time is when we go live. Check out the Longbox Crusade on YouTube, and please make sure you subscribe, hit the like button and the bell to get notified of when we go live or when we have other things going live. Sometimes Jarrett just brings on stuff that he wants to talk about, and he does.
It's true.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles. You got a comment or a question, email us at contact@longboxcrusade.com. Leave a comment on the Longbox Crusade Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter page, all at Longbox Crusade. Also comment in the videos as well, too, from the YouTube channels. Until next time, take care, and please join us on the next episode as we continue on the Crusade to Read the Video.
The intro music is provided by musical genius Joe November.
Check out his SoundCloud at JOSEFLIN99. You won't regret it.
All songs, song clips, and characters discussed are copyright of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended. We are just fans that like to share our love of comics.
Outtakes.
We'd like seeing this person in. It is Chris at PTO at Pat Books.
Oh, that was such a long
Down the
Chris, I have to tell you, we do miss doing that. So I got my script up. Everybody got their script up?
Pants down.
Mm-hmm. All right. There's no time to mess around. Let's podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
Let's podcast.
Woo!
All the bits.
All the bits.
All the bits.
Boots, boots, and cats. Cats, cats, and boots.
Well, let's get going. We got to get down here. You know what's happening? It's because it's not like 11 o'clock at night. Delvin's not tired yet.
He's got all the energy.
I got some caffeine in my water here. I'm all hopped up.
He'll scissor kick you in the back of the head.
I'm gonna be on you like a spider monkey.
Like a spider monkey.
We're going off the rails. Or off the rails. All right. I'm afraid to come over to your house. Next thing you know, I'm in some judo chop, and Delvin's got me wrapped up in a tire, and then he's flipping me over in this big tires, and I'm inside going, help me, help me, help me.
Would you sound like that? Would you be like, help me, help me?
Probably a little bit more higher.